What is up, everybody, and welcome to CTW Postgame Live. Franco, did everybody just hear Franco the way I heard him?
Yes.
Also, this is not the Raptors game. What is going on here? This is definitely not the Raptors game. Hold up, folks.
Hold
We're in
on.
the Cavs. We're in the Cavs. What is this? I've been deceived by my folks. Welcome to CTW Postgame Live. I'm your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me tonight, Nick Franco and Justin Lowe. And folks, we're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, not the Toronto Raptors. And a little technical difficulties. We apologize for that. But also, Franco, did anybody else hear Franco before we came on here the way I did?
Yes.
What happened? I didn't have another hot mic moment.
I think your mic, Franco, like when it's red, I think you got to really make sure that it's red.
You were humming, dude.
I was thinking. I mean, come on. It's the Celtics Talk Weekly Postgame show. But you got to love that theme song.
I'm not saying we don't love it. I think you just added an extra element to it right before the show. I think that's all I'm saying.
We did miss your soundboard the other
night.
To it. We could have used the sound of the Nick Franco soundboard. Yeah, we can. That's what it felt like in the fourth quarter against the Toronto Raptors. That is exactly what we could have used.
Well, it also feels like the fourth quarter right now, as everybody notices. The final score not yet on the bottom of the screen because for the first time, CTW Postgame is actually somewhat during the game. There's a minute left in this game, 133-103. The Celtics on top of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who didn't even fly their starters to Boston for this one. And we don't have a final score yet. We will hear in a minute, but the Celtics up by 30 at this moment. The Celtics easily going to cruise to a win. Most of the game where, all the starters, all the rotation players who are really going to matter within the rotation this season, they've already played. They've already given their minutes to this game. We've seen the bulk of this game. But guys, right now with the Celtics up 30 with about 50 seconds to go in this game, how are we feeling about the Celtics tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I don't even want to keep calling the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're the Canton Charge tonight.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I think we might have started the game a little bit too early. There are, like as we just saw, there was just a great transition play by the Canton Charge, as he has called them. They just smacked you in the face, Seamus. They heard you say that.
I'm hearing Wendell Moore caught a body. I haven't seen it yet. I'm at 45 seconds left. Here we go. I'll react to it for everybody here. All right. Okay. What was it? That was it really that?
No, it was Wendell Moore.
Okay. Wendell Moore. Here we go. Okay, I saw it. I'm pretty sure that was a cock back, jam it right in your face type of dunk. This is why we should go live before the game ends.
I know what.
For the garbage crew. Come on now.
Hey,
that was fun.
If there's enough support from the CTW fan base, who knows? We might be doing live coverage at some point. Who knows?
And Wendell Moore taking the number 20 too. So,
but the Celtics won.
Jabari
Celtics have won, and we can get our final score up of 138-107, I believe.
138-107. The Celtics pull out a victory, and I don't know if that's the right word to use for this one, but they pull out a victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers, 138-107. This is another game. This is the third straight preseason game the Celtics held at least a 20-point lead in. And of course, last game, the Celtics with a 27-point lead could not pull that one out in Toronto. However, throughout we all know the story of that game. The bench mob came in a little messy there at the end. Almost overtime. Almost didn't happen on a Friday night, though. And the Celtics took that one. The Raptors took that one up north. However, the Celtics did have a 20-point lead, as they did tonight. The Celtics pull this one out by 31 points. Just a dominant Celtics win against, again, I'm going to reiterate it, the Canton Charge. But after we saw that dunk, gives a little salt on the end there. It was a nice dish already, but, a little couple extra oregano flakes on the end there with that Wendell Moore dunk. Yeah, just
Yeah.
a presentation, right? Presentation. You guys ever watch the Food Network? It's about how they present the food. So, sometimes it's good, but the presentation, you get dock points for it. But the presentation for the Celtics tonight, very clean all the way through, a 31-point win for the Celtics. How are we feeling about the C's 3 games into the preseason thus far?
You're feeling pretty solid, I think, right? Like, we'll get into the type of competition the Celtics are playing in just a little bit, but like, no matter who the Celtics are facing this preseason, no matter what lineups are facing, this is the first group of games in which this group has really been able to play with each other, right? Like a lot of new guys coming in, and mixed in with guys, who are hungover from the championship team. So, a lot of figuring out you have to do. And no matter who the Celtics face in the regular season, the Celtics have to come up with lineups. The Celtics have to come up with game plans, and the Celtics have to be able to gel and be able to play together on a nightly basis. And they look like they're doing a damn good job so far this preseason, 2-1. Obviously, Seamus, you had mentioned that they've held 20-plus point leads in all 3 games so far. So the Celtics are looking really solid. I think we're going to have a lot of fun covering this team this year. I think anytime, you're supporting the Boston Celtics and you're a part of the Boston Celtics, the goal and expectation is to always go out, make the playoffs, win the championship. That's going to be the goal this year as well. But I do think you have to mix in a little bit of reality here, and kind of note that we don't have the same caliber players that we've been accustomed to these past 2 seasons, back-to-back 60-plus win years for the Celtics. But if there's one thing for damn sure, guys, these guys are going to play hard. You know who's going to play hard? These 2 guys right here. Ugo Gonzalez and Josh Minot. And Minot had another terrific game tonight. And you notice the progression with these guys, the consistency each and every game. Josh Minot, each game this preseason has looked better than the last. Chris Boucher as well. But low minutes tonight compared to what he played on Friday night. But he looks solid again tonight. Very good start. And then Luka Garza looked terrific tonight on the boards. I actually, in my opinion, I thought tonight was his better game of the 3 or of the previous 2. So you're going to get another great look at this team Wednesday night against Toronto. Hopefully we see Toronto starters. Now I know Toronto doesn't spark a threat in the Eastern Conference, regardless if their starters are playing or not. But I do hope to see as much competition as possible before we do head into the real deal, October 22nd, a week from Wednesday, our final preseason game. Franco, good to have you back, buddy.
Welcome back.
This is my debut of the season, the preseason. I got to stretch out a little bit, but I mean, it's going to be challenging for me to take my position on this Celtics roster after the past preseason games. From an overview, I'm not one who is too excited about this roster, how it looks at this very moment, and I will be sure to make sure that is shared with all of you throughout this entire NBA season, and I'll go on plenty of tangents and spiels.
That's if they fail, though.
That is if they
succeed.
fail.
If they're like 20-5, you're not going to be ripping in on the roster.
I know, but that's my issue right now, Seamus. We didn't get our takes out early enough so I could be the pessimistic one who is covering this. But
to be fair, 3 games in, 3 20-point leads. But I'll point out here, the Celtics haven't played anybody. The Memphis starters weren't in, the Raptors starters weren't in, and the Cavs starters weren't in. And there are rumors via Scal, via Scal on the broadcast, the Raptors will play their starters on Wednesday. But so far, the Celtics, with all these 20-point leads, they haven't seen anybody yet. So I feel like this is still a time to get out all the takes, because there's some data put forth for us, but the data is, to me, it's not highly questionable, because you still want to see these guys perform. What else do we want them to do? But ultimately, the data, there's not anything tangibly real we've seen yet, because they're playing a bunch of G League teams, quite honestly. The Memphis Hustle. We saw the Canton Charge Who are the Raptors, G League? Oh, the Raptors 905.
905.
Sonoma,
Yep.
right? I mean, they're the former champions a couple years ago, but that's where we're at right now. I feel like the I don't want to say hot takes, but all the takes on the team
Are
right now
still
are
on the
still
table.
valid,
All
still
right. Well,
valid, still valid. Because the big man rotation, Chris Boucher started tonight. We
that's
don't even
not
know who's going to start at center for most of the
how
season,
much.
and who's going to play at guard too, or the guard and wing
Isn't
positions.
Chris Boucher sub 200 too as well? Like, or just floating around there, not the heaviest set player, and also not one that you would want to place down in a 5 position unless you were playing small ball.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
like
Chris
that's
Boucher
been the
is
conversation the whole time he's been on court. Say he's a perimeter guy,
yeah,
lengthy
he's a
perimeter
wing.
guy.
He's a wing. He's a, he's an absolute wing. If anything, a small ball center, if that. But the conversation with this roster is, and we can still put our tinfoil hats on. This team hasn't really proved anything to me yet, especially with these preseason games. Obviously, we've seen some great performances out of Minot and Luka Garza, and we'll continue to see those players develop and honestly prosper within these positions because there isn't anyone above them. So it's going to be very easy for them to find these opportunities to shine and be able to perform at a top tier level. And it also seems all fine and dandy because the Celtics are playing against, as you said, a lot of G League players. Teams aren't bringing in the starters. The
Right.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a highly potential Eastern Conference have shown that they're a top tier team in the Eastern Conference, and we didn't see a single one of their starters tonight. So it's nothing has been proven by this roster, and I think there are a lot of holes. But for what performance we have seen out of this crew, as Minot on post game interview throws down a cool little celebration. It's like a 3-pointer and then into an
Was
M.
this at the end of his interview here?
Yep.
Is this?
Yeah.
I'm behind you guys. I'm always behind you
Franco,
guys.
you might be a little ahead of me.
Yeah.
The other night,
This
I like
Seamus
that.
and Rob were both in front of me, so they were reacting to the Toronto game winner before me, and yeah, and I'm glad Shulga didn't hit that half court shot for the win because then that really would have spoiled it for me. But yeah, that's like the tough thing. I feel like we always kind of question like, should we do watch along? Should we do watch parties? But then it's like everybody's TV and everybody's stream and everybody's cable is either the frigging quarter ahead of one another. Like it's just, and then it's like, okay, well now we're doing it. We're all on the same page, but which means we're going to be behind our actual, the people viewing. So that's why those don't really work out. That's why you don't see much of that with us.
we got to be live there at the game. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's the
right.
best watch along. I mean, IG live, whatever. Because again, the watch alongs right now is the perfect example of why the watch along is. It's like, okay, everybody saw the dunk, and I'm sitting here going, all right,
Wait a second.
let's just
second
wait for
quarter
me to
for me.
react here.
Whoa!
And then when I see it, it's like, oh, it's cool, but I knew it was coming. It's like, yeah, I knew it was coming, right? But ultimately, what we didn't know what was coming tonight, the Celtics taking this huge win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. We
Oh my
didn't know the
gosh.
Cavs were going. Look at this lead tracker. I mean, I always point out in these big lead trackers, look at how many columns there are, right? Look at how many columns there are specifically on this one. Goes all the way to 40. Goes all the way to 40 on either side. And Cavaliers side, you don't need 40 on that side because the Celtics, they went up by 37 points tonight, and it was a wire to wire victory from start to finish. Justin, this is your wire to wire victory that you wanted to see out of the Celtics last year in January. This is exactly what we'll be looking for again this year. This is the perfect example of a wire to wire victory. It was tied once there early in the first, but that's really not out of the ordinary. 2-2, 4-4. That's pretty normal for NBA games. But there you see the lead tracker tonight. The Sea of Green certainly back for the Boston Celtics against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And as we have the final score now on the bottom of the screen, 138 to 107, the Celtics take the victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Seeing the Celtics play this far, seeing a lot of great things out of the C's. But tonight, in this 31-point victory, I know the competition was not great against the Celtics tonight. The Celtics opponent really, the thing that bugs me, the Cavs did not fly any of their starters to
Not
Boston
one.
tonight. So it wasn't even are they gonna play? They didn't even travel. They did not even travel. But the Celtics, they took care of business regardless and pulled out this win. How did the Celtics exactly pull out this win, especially early in this game? I mean, it was a 20-point lead very early. We see that lead tracker, and the Celtics just took it. I mean, very, very early stages of this game and never quite looked back. How did the Celtics take this one tonight?
I think the Celtics were really smart on their shot selection in the first quarter. And I also think Cleveland was very, they were playing a 2024 Celtics brand basketball. The Cleveland Cavaliers were shooting a ton of threes. Now, Seamus, your term, they were jacking it all night long. And I really think the Celtics just kind of lived off that, really. And I thought their defense tonight was spectacular, and they were picking the ball loose. They were grabbing rebounds, and they were getting out in transition. Obviously, Peyton Pritchard got going early on, and I do think it's important that the Celtics were able to get this type of win. Now, I obviously understand it's preseason, and I understand the opponent at which we went against, but Jaylen Brown struggled tonight in his minutes in terms of scoring, and when the ball was in his hands, a couple turnovers, really not his best game, especially against this type of competition. So it was really nice to see other guys pick it up. Derek White was terrific tonight on the glass, 6 rebounds, or he ended with 7. I believe all 6 were in the first half, which is terrific. Defensive rebounds is what Boston struggled with so far this preseason. If there's something to circle this preseason as a negative and something like, oh, here we go all season, I do think that it's the rebounding. Seamus, you look like you have something to say about that.
Well, I was studying up on that earlier because
Yeah.
that has been, I think the numbers do not correlate with what we're seeing on core right now. Because the
Okay.
numbers overall, because the last couple games, the Celtics have either been even with their opponent or actually better in the rebounding category. Now, tonight was certainly not one of those nights. But I think just from a film perspective and the feel for the team, we know this team should struggle rebounding this year, just given the size deficit potentially at that big man spot. If the Celtics, I mean, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this in a little bit. If the Celtics start Chris Boucher, I mean that front line is looking pretty thin. I mean, your best rebounders are going to be Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, and Chris Boucher. I mean, that is not a good rebounding core whatsoever. But the rebounding, again, I the numbers have been good for the preseason, but that's the thing. We've been talking about it. We've been watching it. Does not seem like they're supposed to be good, and I don't think they're going to be good throughout the season at all.
Right. I think I think also I want to give credit. I think Joe set the tone early. Believe it or not. Like, I love this. And I don't know if it's going to work in the regular season as much. But so far in the preseason, and specifically tonight, I love if you're not hustling your ass off out there and getting defensive rebounds and you're turning the ball over on offense, I'm pulling the next guy off the bench. I don't care who it is. I'm pointing my finger, and whoever gets up off that bench and is willing to grab a defensive rebound and hustle and make those types of plays, get in there. And I think that's really important because you have a lot of young guys on this team. Not only do you have a lot of new guys, but you have a lot of young guys on this team. The Celtics are a much younger team this year than they've been in these previous 2-3 years. And I think it's super important to kind of set these, I guess, kind of precedents of like, we are going to hustle, we are going to dive for loose balls, we're going to close out defensive possessions while grabbing rebounds, we're going to get out in transition and run. And I think Joe Mazzulla is doing a great job at instilling that in these young players' minds. Josh Minot is a prime example of this. This kid has been in the league for 3 years already. He's only 22 years old. Celtics broadcast we're mentioning, 22 years old, and the Celtics have him on a 2-year, $5 million deal. Are you kidding me? And he's making plays like this, and we're going to talk about him specifically, individually later on. But that's how I think the Celtics kind of got out early on. I think the Celtics were able to obviously make their shots early via Peyton Pritchard, and the Celtics were really able to turn their defense into offense, which was one of my keys to the game against Toronto. Let your defense dictate your offense. They did that in Memphis. They won heavily. They did that tonight against Cleveland. They won heavily here on the parquet.
I think that it's really just came down to the one thing that I can't really bash on this team or knock on this team and will not be a concern for this team going forward is their offense. They are full of playmakers and people who are extremely talented at scoring the basketball. The team is looking like they are in a strong position when it comes to being able to outscore teams. However, it has been against weaker competition, so it is hard to be able to make those judgments and establish how this team is going to look at on opening night. And tonight was one of those nights where you saw the offensive star power right off the bat. You saw Peyton Pritchard and Anthony Simons off to hot starts, being able to knock down 3-pointers. And you saw Derek White; those three. That is going to be one of the top things that is going to push the Celtics forward. Is having those three guards in a rotation and next to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum when he rightfully recovers from his injury. Those three guys are going to be very skillful when it comes to being able to score, and they were also able to make things happen on the defensive end. You saw a lot of transition plays happening. You saw this team getting out on the defensive end, creating a lot of hustle plays, a lot of off-ball movement was happening, and you're starting to see a lot of plays develop on the offensive end, which is pretty surprising from me at this within the first 3 games of the season. You don't really see teams start to gel and start to set up things within the offense. You usually see them starting off by finding things on their own, but it seems like this team has a chemistry that is starting to develop, and they need to utilize the strengths of this team because the strengths of each individual player is a lot different than the last few years, because in the last few years, a lot of players were a lot more well versed, a lot more talented, and a lot more proven within the NBA. And when you're looking at players like Kristaps, Drew, and even when you go down to the rotation, you are looking at guys that are trying to prove themselves. So I think that you're gonna see a lot of movement of these guys and being able to really solidify themselves. But one thing that is going to be a negative is how unwell-rounded this team is and the lack of versatility within these players. Because once we start seeing them matched up against better players and opponents, we might start to see those leaks fall through.
And I believe this goes to a point of this season. I think what we're seeing in this preseason thus far, even against the lesser competition, is it's not going to be about beautiful X's and O's. It's going to be about energy and activity and intensity, right? The last couple of seasons, especially the last 2 years, the championship squad and the team trying to go back to back. I mean, it was about beautiful X's and O's. It was about beautiful team basketball and everybody making that high level read, right? I mean, if you look at the 6 players who the top 6, right? We always call them the top 6: Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford. They were all able to make different reads on the floor and high level reads, complex reads at times to pick apart any defense across the league. No matter how good the defense was, no matter how athletic the defense was, they always knew how to create that space on either side of the floor to attack that space and ultimately get themselves buckets. Well, now, and Jason Tatum was a huge catalyst at doing that. Well, now with that talent stripped away, that ability to make those high level reads, those complex reads, the Celtics, they're clearly going to have to play in different styles. They're going to have to play in different ways. And so far in this preseason, we've seen a lot of that energy. We've seen a lot of that effort. We've seen the Celtics muck it up at times too. And that's just going to be the tone of this season. Ultimately, is guys playing hard. And that was what Brad Stevens said at his press conferences over the summer. The Celtics wanted guys who were going to come in with upside, and they wanted guys who were going to come in with a chip on their shoulder, playing hard. And so far, we've seen that in the preseason. I don't. That's the one thing about this team that I don't think that's going to wane all season long. I don't think we're going to get to a point in January or February. The Celtics, maybe their record's a little up and down. I don't think we're going to see a discontinuation of this team playing hard, because every single guy on the roster is playing for something at this point in time. Something. Everybody has something on the line. And again, wins, we've said this in the past, wins cure everything, right? Wins are going to get everybody to where they want to go. I mean, no matter where you are on a championship squad, a championship will benefit your career. I mean, we talk about guys all the time, right? Say last post game, I came on here talking about Brandon Carlson. He's the 15th man on the Oklahoma City Thunder roster, and Brandon Carlson getting a second shout out here, second Celtics Talk Weekly post game in a row. This is crazy.
Yeah, he's
but
got
ultimately, we could get an interview with him. I'm just saying, we might. Justin, me and you might have more followers than him on Instagram. I'm just pointing that out right now.
Oh, wow. Now we're
I'm just
throwing
pointing that
jabs
out.
at him?
I'm just pointing that out for the sheer fact of we could get an interview with him. Just saying. That's probably not the best way to get somebody on. It's calling out their follower count. But I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Not too many players like LeBron, it's the other way around. It's like, okay, not too many players you get to say that about. But Brandon Carlson, you never know. But ultimately him, but that's what I'm saying. All of a sudden we want to interview Brandon Carlson. He won the championship last year. It benefits his career. But the Celtics, there are a lot of players on this roster in which will benefit from the Celtics winning in the future. And one of those projects to be Josh Minott. Josh Minott, my goodness, this is a player nobody even. I mean, I was remembering earlier today back to the broadcast, a fan series broadcast, because remember this summer we were breaking every single bit of news live. I mean, live. It wasn't, we were going live. It was, we were already live, already recording, because we did so many times this summer. Boom, news would come out. Boom, news would come out. Boom, news would come out. That Josh Minott tweet drops, and Griffin and I, we look like complete idiots trying to deliver the news because we didn't know how to say his name. We did not know how to say Josh Minott's name. We were going Minott, the Celtics signed Josh. It's like, hey, they signed Josh. And now the Josh Minott, he's going to be a name that's going to be remembered within Celtics lore to some degree after this season, whether it's he had a great first season, whatever his Celtics career turns out to be. But right now, Minott seems to be the diamond in the rough the Celtics found this summer out there in free agency. What is our recalibrated perception of Josh Minott at this point? We went from really not knowing his name, not knowing how to pronounce his name, to now thinking what about Josh Minott?
I think we have something. I really think the Celtics have something with Josh Minott, and I think it's important. Again, I mentioned earlier in the show, like, this kid's only 22 years old. It's not like he's on a minimum, like $5 million, 2 years. We have him this year and next year, and he's a guy who is going to give you tremendous depth. And I know I'm looking significantly into the future here, and we just need to focus on the task at hand. But if Tatum is to come back next year, let alone this year, Josh Minott backing up Jason Tatum, and Minott's going to consistently give you this type of effort. I'm all for that. Sign me up, especially on that deal. Are you kidding me? We talk about cheap deals, and we talk about Peyton Pritchard's deal, and we talk about, I think Minott is on a phenomenal deal right now. And it's interesting because, Seamus, when you and I were texting, it was kind of like Josh Minott was kind of probably offered the same thing, if not maybe a little bit more, by Minnesota. But here he was able to play, and that's what kind of elated him about the idea of coming here and playing in Boston. Obviously, anybody would love to put a Celtics jersey on and compete for a championship, but he was really going to get to compete and get minutes and get an opportunity. And this is preseason, but this type of effort is just absolutely terrific, and it's everything the Celtics need and more. And we're going into a season of uncertainty, but he's a player that will certainly bring the play every night, and he's going to go out there and compete. And he doesn't care if he starts. He doesn't care if he comes off the bench. He doesn't care if tonight it's defensively and tomorrow it comes down to, okay, I got to hit a couple 3-point shots. I got to contribute on the offensive end. I think also his read on the offensive glass is terrific. His putbacks, it's something really special. And it's again, it's funny. Like, I'm sitting here talking about Josh Minot, and I'm thinking, like, man, this guy's been around a little bit, and he's playing like he's been around. Like, no, he's a kid. He's 22 years. He's younger than us. I shouldn't even have his jerseys by Franco's rule. And it's
Another guy we could get
incredible.
for an interview. Just saying, younger than
It's
us.
Do we have more
incredible.
followers than I'm, Seamus?
It's
We might actually. I'm not sure. Accumulated. Could we do accumulated?
we could
Accumulated.
accumulated.
No overlap. I mean, you could go like Josh Minot, pick somebody else off the Celtics bench. We'll do the accumulation. Whoever wins, we'll just interview the other.
Bottom
go.
line, I really like Minot. And I'm very impressed. I'm impressed with the consistency is what I am, because you could see a play out of this guy every now and then and be like, oh, he's great tonight. And then tomorrow he's no, all 3 preseason games, it's gotten better and better for him. And he's looking like he's getting more comfortable and more confident in his role here in Boston. And that's huge. And I hope we see a lot more of him on Wednesday night against the Toronto Raptors.
Josh, I mean, when you look at this Celtics roster, it's open season for minutes. And
Right.
for Minot, and no pun intended, it's a good chance for him to be able to get a play on those, get in on rotation. And who knows, he could beat out a player like Chris Boucher. There's a chance that he could be able to outperform Sam Hauser at this point of the season. And I would say there are two to three locked positions on the Celtics starting rotation. That is Jaylen Brown and Derek White right now when Jason Tatum returns. Right now, you got a battle between Pritchard and Simons happening for that 1 spot, and then we don't know what's happening with that 4 spot until Tatum comes back, and we also don't know what's happening with that 5 spot throughout the rest of the season amongst Keita, Tillman, and Garza. And it's going to be interesting to see how all those spots play out. So it is all question marks. There is, if you ask Joe Mazzulla what the minute ratings are going to look like for this team, he wouldn't be able to give you an answer about what this team is going to look like, even probably opening night, on how the lineups are going to look. I think that there are still things that are being evaluated and questions amongst these teams. But if there is a player giving a show, it is Josh Minot. The athleticism is going through the roof, and it's honestly everything that we expected out of Jordan Walsh and never received. And that is something that we are going to try to see if this is going to lead to someone being out competed for one of their positions on the court and a position on this roster, because there are still a lot of open holes. And I think that this Celtics team is looking to find a new core within themselves, players that they can develop, players that they can rely on when it comes down to time to either extend these players or put them on new contracts heading into when you have Brown and Tatum healthy. We are going to be going into a whole bunch of challenging positions when it comes down to who's going to get paid and who isn't. And there is a chance that a Josh Minot can even outcompete a player that's getting already paid, like a Sam Hauser. If we've learned anything about this ownership, they will cut costs at any opportunity. And if they have a player that is producing at the same amount for $2 million as the same amount as a player at $10 million, like Sam Hauser, they aren't going to hesitate to hit the chopping block and shave that $8 million off the salary and go under the apron even further. So you are seeing a whole bunch of young guys on minimum deals who could end up out competing these players who are seeming to receive guaranteed money.
And Josh Minot, I think the biggest thing for me, well, first, I want to say this. Over the summer, Griffin, I don't remember which broadcast it was, but he was saying to everybody, I think Josh Minot's going to be a good locker room guy. And really at the time, I found Griffin's statement to be completely full of crap because Josh Minot had been on the team for maybe 2 weeks. And I was going, how do we even know? Is he going to play? Is he going to be in Maine? Is he going to make the roster? Like, we don't even, and he's 22, right? And I'm thinking after, coming off all these years of veteran players, like, how much of an impact can a 22-year-old make when it comes to the vibes of the locker room? But from this preseason, I'm going to rescind my statement. I'm going to apologize to Griffin right now, even though I never told him that, but I'll tell him what I thought on his broadcast. Yeah, I never told him that straight up, but actually, I guess we did have a conversation about that a little bit back on the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. But
Once he's back from Disney World.
He's stuck. He's stuck at Epcot. I don't know where Universal Studios. I don't really know how he's getting. Maybe I guess he's hitchhiking back from Orlando. That's why he's or he's left us to go cover the Lakeland Magic. I'm not really.
What were we recording when he joined that?
Where was he recording? Al Horford Live? Are you talking about the Al Horford Live right now?
Was that what we were recording? Al Horford Live?
Yes.
Al Horford stream? Okay, I didn't know if that was a post.
That's the one that I don't want to use the word off the rails, but if there were a moment that was ever off the rails on this broadcast,
oh my gosh, that was the Franco. That was the okay.
No,
no,
people watching this right now.
Views that need to be.
Wait. That was when Justin was supposed to go flying across the screen right there. That's when he was supposed to go flying across the screen.
That was cold. You know what? I completely forgot about that until you just mentioned that.
That's the way it was supposed to be.
Right. We're just, and now everybody's gonna be. We haven't given the timestamp out, so don't worry, everybody.
The Tory Craig banter the other night was pretty off the.
That was not off the rails. Come on, that was so objectively true. What was going on there? Come on. Well, first of all, we have to remind ourselves that these players off court have different relationships that
here we go.
On-court play. At the end of the night, right, when Klay Thompson is coming, when Klay Thompson is coming out of nowhere, swooping your woman away, it's like, how are you supposed to sit in the corner and get threes?
Franco, you missed it the other night, man.
But that was not what the Franco incident was about. I'll say that. That was not
the Franco incident.
There's never been a Franco incident.
No.
Never.
Nope, we don't.
We
shouldn't even call it an incident. Shouldn't even call it an incident. It should be like a little bit of boppo, right? Like a little bit of a little blip. But regardless, I believe this conversation was on Josh Minot, and I was talking about Griffin. And Griffin with just his presence and his name somehow got this broadcast off the rails. I don't know. He didn't even have to be
Griffin
to cause that. But Griffin, I gotta say, I gotta apologize to him because this summer he said it. He said Josh Minot, he's gonna be a good locker room guy. And in this preseason so far, clearly Josh Minot is a player bringing the energy on floor, not just from an activity standpoint, but all the celebrations, all of the plays that are made, all of what Josh Minot is doing on the basketball floor right now, in terms of just his general body language, his persona, his personality that he brings to the floor. I mean, those are going to be things that help the entire team. And I think about Al Horford too in the past. Al Horford, a little sensitive subject at this moment in time. How do we go? That's what pains me. Al Horford, it went from all this love and gush to sensitive. Although I gotta say, Rob's really the one on the.
I'm objective towards it.
Right. I think this sector of CTW is a little more tamed on Al Horford. But
get your bag, Al. Go get your bag.
Right. But regardless, right? Al Horford, remember in games, right? Al Horford wouldn't be the celebrating type, but Al Horford, there were a couple of moments in there where the flinch, right? The flinch, that would always be to kind of calm guys down. It's like, oh, Al Horford, he flinched. That's pretty funny, right? Oh. And then, we have the moments against Giannis, like, all right, right. We've had those moments where guys, they're, the little funny moments kind of lightens the mood. That's what Al Horford always said. It lightens the mood. Guys are really tense. They're
Right.
serious. They're tight playing a game, and it lightens the mood. I think Josh Minot plays very light, and he still plays with intensity, but he also plays with this kind of fun personality that I think just spreads to the rest of the team. It surely spreads to the bench when he's making plays out there on floor, when he's out there dunking, when he's out there hitting step back threes and getting the and one. I mean, that he's putting up the typical preseason, and just, it doesn't even have to be in the preseason, but regular season performance from a basketball player that surely indicates this man is going to be placed somewhere within the rotation during the season, or at least deserves a spot within the rotation. Sometimes these things happen halfway through a season, but right now we're seeing it happen in the preseason with Josh Minot so far. I have a great outlook for Josh Minot. This summer I was going, okay, is this going to be, minimum contract guy? Jordan Walsh, we've been trying to get him going for years. Is this going to be another Jordan Walsh project? But ultimately, in 3 games, Josh Minot has arguably surpassed Jordan Walsh in the rotation already.
Arguably.
I'm just, well, arguably might be a Bikram yoga stretch on that one. Just saying.
Yes.
I think Minot.
I think that happened right when he put pen to paper.
I don't know about that. You gotta show out here, because Jordan Walsh, we talked about this last game a little bit with Shireman. We're not gonna go too far on Shireman tonight, because
he didn't look good.
Right. We've had the Shireman conversation. It just continues at this point. It's almost like beating a dead horse. We don't want to continuously. It's like, can we get some good data on Shireman before we talk about his future?
First shot was good. TD Garden logo, drilled it. First shot was good.
Yeah, but the placement of it, a little, I don't know. But ultimately, right? All the players, right? Shireman, Walsh, those guys, they own extra standing because of their youth, and of course because of the position they play, and the Celtics want to develop those guys. But Josh Minot, he's come in and proved that he's ultimately better than potentially both of those players already in 3 games. 3 games, and he's only 22 years old. That's a huge aspect of Minot's game too, is he's improving, and he's still at that age of improvement. He's not Baylor Shireman, where Baylor Shireman still is at that age of improvement, but he's on the back half of it, right? And Jordan Walsh too. Jordan Walsh is starting to inch on the back half of that. Josh Minot, there's a couple more years in there, a season or two, where, I mean, think of it, he's a season or 2 behind, where I shouldn't say he's a season or 2 behind those guys, because he was actually a season ahead, but that's what makes Minot's career up to this point impressive. He already has those 3 years under his belt. This is his 4th year, and he's still 22 years old. Shireman, this is his 2nd year. He's already older than Minot. Walsh, this is his, I believe, 3rd year as well, and he might be the same age as Minot, or a little bit older there. But regardless, Minot's come in and clearly made an impact over the guys already here. And another conversation that includes a guy coming in and making an impact over guys that were already here. It's the big man conversation between Luka Garza and Neemias Queta. Luka Garza tonight played more minutes than Queta. Queta did not start in this game, in his second preseason game. He barely played. I mean, he played what? He played, let's get the actual minutes. I want to say he played 7 minutes. Well, so yeah, he played early too, and not the rest of the game. So it wasn't garbage time 7 minutes. He played early and never again.
Right. This might be also a concern, because he hasn't, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't played too much in the first 2 games, because in the first game it was Tillman starting. So is there something going on?
Well, the first game he didn't play, period. And then the second game he came out.
Didn't look good.
And did he start last game?
He did.
I believe he did.
Start in Toronto. He did.
He did start there. Good. And he didn't look good. Tonight he doesn't start. Chris Boucher gets the start at the 5, which is a theme we talked about last game, about how the Celtics, are they going to, platoon certain guys starting on any given night, depending on the rotation. But Queta doesn't start tonight. He only plays 7 minutes. Are we concerned for Queta right now? Is this circumstantial, we think, or is this actually a red flag waving clearly at us going, Luka Garza is starting to make his way above Neemias Queta within the personal standings of Joe Mazzulla sitting there on the sideline watching the Celtics play?
I think there's a flag starting to get waved, and I think it's they're starting to wave the flag. They're all over the place waving the flag because I think they're starting to realize that you can't go into a season with Neemias Queta as your starting center.
They were hoping he was going to have a really good year.
That's very similar to the Nick Franco moment I'm talking about, by the way.
They were no, not quite. That one was a little cleaner. Just saying, a little.
I think
the yelling and smashing something. It's pretty close.
It's like been so clear, and I've been biting my tongue because we're coming off a 31-point win. So who am I to start complaining? But why are they? Who?
Hold on.
We have came off of a championship win.
Is this your prime LeBron highlights pregame tonight, saying how you're going to be overly optimistic about this team?
Pessimistic.
Yes. This is the moment, by the way, folks. This is the moment. We're almost going to have to throw this text up. It should have been a tweet. This is production right now. Tweet that, and we'll throw it up on broadcast. And then when this segment comes around, we'll go, this is what he was talking about right here.
I mean, I'm not going to be happy about this roster, and I really had to bite my tongue through 45 minutes of this show because we're coming off a 31-point win. We're 2-1. We had a decent showing in Toronto. They were able to make it within a one-possession game in Toronto. So there's not really much I can complain about that, but these games are meaningless. If anyone hasn't figured that out, it's what's happening at training camp. It's what's happening in the gym off the time, off the schedule, and being able to get this team ready for the season. And one thing that was made clear and for certain was this team was going to be chopping down on salary. But the way the money is distributed amongst this team, there are players that are better, like Josh Minot, who might be at the same value as a player like Sam Hauser, and he's only making the $7.5 million less. So it's one of those positions, and you can't go into a season with a rotation. If you look at this team from the starting one all the way down to the 8th player in the rotation, you need to have a balance of players who can do it all. Right now, it is too many wings on this court, too many guards in this rotation, and not enough centers. To be relying on Luka Garza, Neemias Queta, and Xavier Tillman to even fill above 15 minutes a game is a joke. You cannot have those players being relied on to play at the same level as the starting centers within the NBA. You are just looking at a pure any team with any offensive talent in the NBA is looking at the Boston Celtics on their schedule in the regular season, licking their chops because of the mismatches they are going to be able to draw on players like Anthony Simons, either Sam Hauser, Xavier Tillman, Neemias Queta. They are going to be on the court in the starting lineup trying to guard against starting caliber players, and they are just going to get cooked game in, game out, and it's just going to be inconsistency. And the key hot word of this season is going to be mediocrity.
That's wait, first of all, can we just say that right there? Can we get that on a clip in the Celtics locker room? Because that's bulletin board material, what you just said right there.
I hope they prove me wrong, but you know what? I'm wearing my tinfoil hat. I'm Chicken Little screaming that the sky is falling. Everyone else is making me feel like I'm the crazy one, thinking that things aren't going to be hitting the fan when the season is at game 40 and we're still waiting on Tatum to arrive. And when Tatum arrives, we're at less than 500 at the winning percentage.
Well, I truly think from this preseason, I think two things can be true, right? Two things can be true. I think the Celtics are going to be a little bit better than expected. Okay, I think that's going to be true. But what I also think is true is this team is not going to reach anywhere near the heights we saw the last 2 years because, well, let's face it, number one, 23-24, that was a top 10 team record-wise from start to finish, from game one to the end of the NBA Finals, top 10 record-wise, winning percentage-wise in NBA history. And what pains me about that one is The Celtics just didn't lose that game to the Hornets against Miles Bridges, right? They would have had a top 5 record. Or you could say the finals, or you could say any of their 18 other losses, or however many losses. They had 21 losses. But that season, right, regardless, that season, last season, the team was on a level of best in history. Best in history. That's what Whit Grosbeck said during ring night, during banner night last year, right? Which is almost a year ago already. It seems like it was yesterday. But a year ago, Whit Grosbeck gave that team praise as one of the best teams in NBA history. Will this team reach anywhere near those heights? Definitely not. Not even close. Not even close. And that's what I think is going to put more of a pessimistic view inside of fans about this team throughout the season as it goes along. But I think the recalibrated view of this team is okay, they're somewhere in the middle of the pack, right? They're somewhere in the middle of the pack of the NBA. They are just let's call it how it is. It does
Play-in
look
team.
like a mediocre roster.
Play-in material.
But can the Celtics,
Chicago Bulls, Toronto
if
Raptors,
they're somewhere around 50,
Boston Celtics.
14, 15, 16, 17, can the Celtics make their way into the top 10 this season and be a top 10 squad that say, oh, you can say in the first round they make some noise, but they can't quite make the second round, or they barely make the second round. They're facing a better opponent. I think the Celtics can be that team because we've seen in the past, I'm just saying, we've seen in the past better, I shouldn't say, worse Celtic squads achieve better results than what were expected.
Right.
But this is a year where I do think there will be this mediocre level to the squad because of what I said the other night, the inconsistencies that could arise within the rotation throughout the season. I mean, the wing rotation, we don't know exactly what's going to go on there. The big man rotation, Brad Stevens over the summer, it's going to be platoon. It's going to be by committee. It's like, okay, that's going to cause definite inconsistencies.
I
Within
work in
starting
public
lineups.
relation, and that is the most BS corporate answer that you can give. That is basically just it being like, oh, Joe Mazzulla is going to have so much to work with when he's just working with nothing, pretty much. It's basically just, oh, we're going to keep on sticking things together until we figure it out, but none of it's here. It's not on this roster right now. There might be a few rotational players that you can keep around and might be contributors on a key squad moving forward. But other than your big three in White, Brown, Tatum, and then whatever you have with between Pritchard and Simons, which I'm mind boggled by that situation because you're spending $27 million on a 6-man if Pritchard
But
or
that is an example of why, to me, like I said this the other night too, this team, there's some talent on the squad, but doesn't make any sense together at the end of the day because basketball, it's bit continuity matters in basketball, right? You could have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the continuity, you don't have, if you have redundancy across your board, you could have 5 all-star point guards, but again, if you don't have a center, where can you really go?
Right.
This Celtics lineup, it feels like it was built off of the circumstances of, oh, we need to shed a bunch of salary over the summer. We're making all the necessary moves. And really it was the Celtics are trying to shed salary while also keeping some level of comparable talent to Giroux and Porzingis, some level of talent. And that's represented by Anthony Simons. Does he fit with Pritchard and Brown and everybody else? I'm not quite certain of that. Yet he's a valuable asset the Celtics will either look to trade or extend later on in the season.
How are you looking to replace Keita with? I mean,
well,
Keita is
replacing Keita. What are we talking about? Replacing Keita?
I'm sorry. How are you trying to replace Kristaps Porzingis with Demias Keita, who you're not even seeing get minutes in a damn preseason
No, but
game?
That again, Simons and that
playoff.
those two things right there. The Celtics don't have a big, and Simons. The rotation doesn't necessarily make sense from who's playing at what time. Do all these guys make sense together? That doesn't necessarily make sense. And it points to the summer of it goes back to the summer of, well, the Celtics, they were just making moves based off of money. And yes, there was some thought about what the team and what kind of assets the Celtics would actually have within their grasp. But we said it. It was like the past was all about putting together the championship roster and installing the final pieces. Last summer, it was about rearranging the entire chessboard to then go and do that again eventually in the future. That is essentially where we're at now. That's essentially where the Celtics were at in 2021, where the Celtics roster, I mean, they went 500 that year. They were 36-36, a bunch of random guys, a bunch of young guys who didn't necessarily mesh together. And it did feel like a little old era meeting the new era. That's what's happening with this roster as well, as they pointed out on the broadcast tonight. This roster, I think it's going to be a little better than expected, but it doesn't really make much sense to me at all. And I still think people are going to look at it pretty pessimistically from just the sheer standpoint of it's not what we saw for the last 4 seasons. Yet I still think this roster can be a little better and more fun than expected. I mean, I think both things can be true in that regard. I think it can be true. But it's all about recalibrating the view, right? If you have the expectation of, well, this team, we should be winning banners every single year, well, then you're going to be disappointed by this team. That's just how it's going to be. It's about expectations.
I'm sorry, William Chisholm. If you're buying the Boston Celtics, that's the expectation that's set upon you. I don't care if you're getting a $500 million investment from Saudi Arabia as an investment into your team.
Well,
I don't
we
care.
love Saudi Arabia on here. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. The money that is getting poured into this team needs to be turned into product. We love Saudi Arabia. We love their money, but let's turn that into a product that we can sell out the Celtics games. Let's make this a marketable team. When Jason Tatum isn't on the court, the Boston Celtics are going to struggle to sell games to a market. I mean, at the prices that they were in the past couple of years, they are not going to be able to have it cost $100 just to step foot in TD Garden anymore. Prices are going to drop drastically. If you are going to want fans to not be fair weather fans and being in and out, and you can't just rely on the loyalty of the Boston fan. Boston fans have been known to show their displeasure with organizations when teams are not performing to the levels that are expected upon them. I understand the message and the mission of this offseason was to shave that salary, but it is all about being able to allocate that shaved salary into the right places so there is a team that can sustain and put out a viable product on the court until number 0 is back on the court in TD Garden.
And but my perspective of this, I will say, it starts this season. Like this is where the mountain climb starts, right? We're at base camp, right? The mountain was achieved 2 years ago, 2024, right? Or a year and a half ago in 2024. That was when the Celtics reached the mountaintop. Now, ever since that point, right, the Celtics went down the mountain a little bit and they tried to reclimb it, but then against the Knicks, I mean, they just their hooks broke. I mean, it was a mess. It was a mess. I mean, they were falling down the mountain. But now we're back at base camp, right? We're back at base camp. This team's back at base camp, but now they're trying to ultimately build to where you're talking about right now. And this is where I believe the Celtics this season can't really dilly-dally around with all of their personnel, right? And I don't think they will. I think they'll find a definitive path. I think we're going to see a defined rotation at a certain point. But looking at the starting 5 tonight, right? No Keita, no Luka Garza, no true big, right? Chris Boucher's in there. Rob mentioned last game, maybe we start Boucher, right? And that, I mean, he was very adamant about. Justin, do you remember his starting 5? It was Pritchard, Brown, Boucher, and then what was it? Keita. I don't want to misspeak here on Rob's behalf. But regardless, he was mentioning how Boucher should be in the starting lineup. I wish I could give you the whole starting 5, but he was mentioning Boucher in the starting lineup. Tonight we did see Boucher in the starting lineup and no true big. Did tonight's lineup give us any indication of where the Celtics are going this season? Keita only playing 7 minutes, Luka Garza really being the first big off the bench, and Chris Boucher taking over the big minutes as the starter, although he's not a true big. Did this give us any indication, or was this just a circumstantial one-off of experimentation from Joe Mazzulla?
If anything, it indicates a trade is coming real soon.
Real
I don't
soon.
think that. I don't think that at all. I don't think there's anything to read from preseason starting lineups. I don't. I
You
really
don't
don't.
think you don't think
I I think I
okay,
think tonight.
say
I think
you don't
tonight
think
more
they'd
than the
start at
first
least
two.
one game.
Yes.
One game, right? You don't
Yes.
think
So far
Joe
tonight
Mazzulla
has
would
been the game. So far tonight's been the game. But they could come out with the totally different. Like when Joe Mazzulla says, "Don't read into my lineup, my starting lineups for preseason," I 100% believe him. I don't read into it. The only thing I can say and attest to that is we have so many new pieces and we have so many undecided pieces like Nemish Keita that we quite literally don't know what the starting lineup could look like, even on opening night, even after 4 preseason games are played. I think tonight was as close to a true starting lineup as you'll see. It definitely so far. Also, playing small ball against the Cavaliers. Cavaliers known for playing big. They're with Mobley and Allen and Mitchell but those guys are all out. Is Max Drew still on this team?
Yes.
He
yes.
is. He's just out. He was just out tonight. But
I'm gonna get on my own
Boucher
soapbox after this about that.
what was
Franco,
that? Yeah.
I'm gonna get on my
Boucher.
own soapbox. Franco got on his soapbox. I'm gonna get on mine about preseason lineups for other and the Celtics opponents so far. Just
Yeah. But
everything too.
so also like that has something a little something to do with it. Like we have not seen any competition right now for the Celtics, and I get it. Like I said it earlier in the show, uh, that like these guys are this is such a new group together that they need any reps they can get against any caliber, whether a G League team or an NBA team. Obviously, we prefer to go up against the best of the best, or especially early on in the year. I'm no question about it. But at the same time, I think the reps in getting things down is super important at the moment, and that to me is the focus. But also like to go up against teams of higher echelon competition like John Morant, like Jackson Jr. the other night, and then obviously tonight against a Cleveland team who you want to be able to go head to head with in this Eastern Conference. Cleveland's supposed to be that team this year. Cleveland's supposed to be top of the top of the heap. Some are even saying over New York. So like this is a Cleveland team that you're coming into, and you're expecting to, every year I feel like Celtics and Cleveland season series is a very important season series. It doesn't matter if it's a game in November or a game in April. It's a very, very important season series. And I wish they treated that tonight as so. Those guys didn't even make those guys weren't even sitting on the bench in street clothes. Like, it's not like these guys even came
Can't
to the
even go
game
to Strega
and were like,
tonight.
hey, game time decision. Are these guys playing? Or are they not? I don't know. Like, no, those guys weren't even in the building, not even in the locker room. Like, there was no doubt about it. Cavs mailed this game in, which is ridiculous because they're 0-3 now in the preseason. And I get wins don't matter in the preseason at all. The results don't matter. It's more the reps. But like, it's not like they've come in and dominated these preseason games, right? Like, this is a Cleveland team who, is very, very well established, but at the same time, going through injuries and kind of still trying to figure out and navigate, right? Like, I really wish the Celtics were able to go up against Cavaliers, even if it was just a half, guys. Even if it was first half, even if it's a tight game, okay, second half milling in. We saw what we needed to see. But Seamus, I'll let you kind of talk about this because this is something that you've kind of wanted to talk about all night long. But I do think that would have kind of helped the Celtics. That would have given us a true idea not only what our starting lineup would have looked like going up against a Cavs starting lineup, but at the same time, like I, again, I'm not going to sit here and read into anything too much, guys. I'm that's just where I'm at. I kind of said it the other day, wrapping up the Toronto show, when Rob asked me, what my starting five would be so far, and I still legitimately couldn't tell you. I don't know. I wouldn't start Luka Garza, by the way, my guy Luka. Um, I like Luka off the bench. I like Luka off the bench, but at the same time, Nimi has looked really, really not great. The game, and I talked about it with Baylor about the game not seeming to have slowed down for him yet. It looks like that with Nimi. I'm sorry. It does. Nimi's all over the place. He was all over the place tonight in his short, limited minutes. That's probably why he only played short, limited minutes. There has to be a reason why he only played 7 minutes tonight. He played less minutes than Xavier Tillman. And I think X has looked pretty solid compared to what he's looked like this past year, this past season. I know he was injured, but there's something going on there with Nimi.
Yeah, and Nehemias Keita's line tonight, 7 minutes and 15 seconds played. He was 2 for 2 from the field. However, 5 points, two turnovers, a
Yeah.
personal foul, 4 rebounds, 2 of them defensive rebounds, 2 of them offensive rebounds. So slight production there, but you never like to see the turnovers. And Justin, you've been pointing out Nehemias Keita, he's been turning the ball over quite a lot lately in
He
these
has 7
preseason games. It's
turnovers in his
preseason.
last 2 games.
7.
Yeah.
7. I mean, that's 3.5 a game. And I know it's
And he
only
only
2
played
games,
7
but
minutes
come
tonight.
on. I mean,
Right, like-
and I look at it too and go, this is kind of a spot if you're going to be a starting center. This shouldn't be I'm just getting ramped up, getting going. It's like, no, you look at the competition. Look at the Raptors team that was out on the floor
Right.
the other night. Look at the Cavs team that was out on the floor. This should be a spot where Nehemias Keita comes in and looks like a legitimate center. Looks like he's getting the job done. And instead, it looks like he's on the same level of all of the different garbage time teams we're playing. I don't want
So-
to say garbage teams, that's harsh, but garbage time teams, right? That's really these G League squads that are being rolled out in front of the Celtics in these games.
We say Nimi's played 2 games. He's played in 2 games. He's only played 24 minutes worth of basketball this preseason. He played 7
That's what he's going to
tonight
be expected to
and-
play each game in the
and
next 82 games.
17 on 17 on Friday, and obviously a DNP Wednesday against Memphis. So he's only played a half's worth of basketball, and he's got 7 turnovers, and that's supposed to be your starting center.
Yep, a trade's coming soon, real soon. I'm sorry. I think that there is going to be more roster movement earlier than people expect. I don't think the Celtics are going to be sitting on their hands until they
Until
would
the trade
be
deadline.
reluctant to be sitting on their hands until the trade deadline or December. And I mean, they could be one could say that they are waiting out to see if Jason Tatum is going to be back this year or Jason Tatum's not going to be back this year. And people are that is not a right way of thinking about it from a managerial and from a winning perspective. You shouldn't be banking on if Jason Tatum's out this year. You shouldn't be putting out a bad product. That's what they consider in the NFL tanking or anywhere else in the sports world.
The NFL. What about the NBA? The NBA is like tank fest central.
Tank for flag.
I mean, the NBA, the NFL does not really have a problem of like, whoa, the bottom 10 teams are all going after, say,
well, it's
Arch
different
Manning
because
they're certainly
the
not
lottery,
right now, but
the
whoever's going
lottery,
to be the number 1 pick.
the lottery does change that up for that, but that's not the point. I just don't think that the Celtics should be relying on whether Jason Tatum is going to be on the court or not to be the lead decision in any of their basketball decisions going into this season. There is still, believe it or not, there are still 82 games of this season that need to be played before Jason Tatum comes back, or if he does come back, even 40 at game 41, if all is amazing. Like, there are still games that need to be figured out. There is still a game-to-game basis, and what you have right now is not talent substantial enough to withhold you until a point of Jason Tatum's return to be in a competitive state in the Eastern Conference. I'm completely with the center rotation. You're looking at guys that didn't even average above 15 minutes, let alone get playing time in last year's playoffs. And you're seeing the sample size from them now. And I don't know how Brad Stevens or Joe Mazzulla can look each other in the face and say this center room is the answer we need going
Well,
forward. I think
that
that there are going to be changes made much, much sooner
Then you
than
think, yeah.
that was kind of my next question here to you guys is what exactly do you guys think is the conversation behind the scenes? Because we and it's not necessarily a serious question like what are they exactly saying, but just generally, if we're sitting here going, who is starting? What is going on here? We don't really have a definitive answer at the big man spot. And we could even say this too for the guard and wing positions. Those positions are more solidified because there's talent there that can be slotted in, but what it actually looks like structurally, who goes in front of who for what minutes, right? That's what's not figured out within the guard rotation and the wing rotation. Although it's starting to become a little bit clear as preseason moves on, even though the competition it isn't that great. But the big man core, I picture a world, right? Brad Stevens is sitting in a room with Mike Zarin and maybe Bill Chisholm or Wick is there, or maybe it's just Mike Zarin and Brad Stevens. Maybe they're just talking. It could be anybody in the front office as well, many front office members. What kind of conversations do they exactly have about this big man core? Do you think they just sit back and go, maybe, or do they go, this isn't really happening. We have to just ride through this. And then, of course, when they come in front of the public, that's it. That's what I was saying this summer too. I mean, go back to the summer a lot with a lot of these conversations, but Brad Stevens appeared at those press conferences, and we kind of called him out, going, "Okay, he's very optimistic about this, or that, but behind the scenes, there's no way that's what the Celtics' real plan. I mean, that might be their plan for the season, but it's no way they actually believe in that as a tangible long term plan to win, such as the big man rotation, which was specifically the conversation. Right,
I
right
think it's
now,
just
this is not a tangible plan to win
So,
long term.
so
I, I
Franco,
think it's
do
a
you
conversation of just keeping the man who's cutting the checks happy. But what's up, Justin?
do you think that this preseason is not necessarily? Do you think? I guess by technicality, it is like preseason and training camp deals. Like technically, it is a tryout. But do you think it's a tryout for a lot of guys, even on guaranteed deals right now?
Oh, it's
This
just
season
like
could be a massive tryout.
yeah.
like
This whole it's all
because
value.
you're essentially saying like, listen, like the guys we have on the team now, as soon as maybe a month from now, we could see them on other rosters.
Well, wait. I will say this. I know that's this kind of a question for Franco, but I just want to disclaim this. The trade season, right, starts basically around December 15th, because that is the date, or beginning of December. The date always changes, right? Beginning of December, because that's the date in which all of the free agents from this past summer are now eligible to be traded.
Okay,
So, like right now, for
a lot of
example,
free
Josh
agents.
Minot can't be traded,
Okay,
and Luka Garza
so
can't be traded. So,
so
but
as
that's
soon
where
as
I'd say I see a world where the Celtics could be experimenting, say in October, November, and then by December they go, okay, maybe let's start looking at ways to upgrade this or change it. I don't know if you feel the same way, Franco, but that feels
Oh,
like it could be the
1000%.
direction.
he definitely
One,
does.
yeah,
If they could change it
1000%.
now, he would.
Oh,
Like,
I would go. If I had access to, if I just had one of the scan room keys into the Celtics front office, I would pick up that black phone that's in their office and just start dialing away and making things happen. And people would not be too happy with me, and I would be locking out TD Garden security. But want to know what? I'd be much happier with the sanctity of this roster. But for right now, I think they're like one player that yes is screaming out at the top of my head is Sam Hauser. I mean, he's making $10 million this year, and that is the, if I'm not mistaken, fifth highest paid player on the Boston Celtics right now, if not fourth. I mean,
Wait, so wait, this is wait, who are you talking about
Sam How
again?
Sam
Sam
Hauser,
Hauser is, I
the fourth.
believe, I believe he's fifth. I want to say fifth. Tatum, Brown, Simons.
White.
Is there another one? White. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So he is your fifth highest paid player, and that is just a wing sharpshooter. I mean, I'm not underestimating Sam Hauser, but objectively, you can't be paying when you're winning championships. Sam Hauser is a guy that is 10 out of 10 times worth $10 million. But when you are just playing to win games, that's not a player that's not going to help you win games and be a player that you can rely on to do multiple things, let alone play the 4 spot in your starting lineup next year. Like you are relying on him to play alongside Jaylen Brown and fill in what Jason Tatum was able to do on the court. I hate to break it to you, and I have full faith in Sam Hauser, but I don't think that's happening. So I think that just being able to trade off some of these salaries and allocate this money into more players, what I've been preaching about what the Celtics need to do this entire offseason before the before Giroux was traded, it was get as disperse the money behind Brown and Tatum and White as equally as possible. So you are getting guys within $5 to $10 million deals, not guys that are above, let's say, a mid-level exception. But you have 10 guys on. You have 5 guys on the court, and you got 5 guys on your bench that you can rely on, and you know what they're capable of, instead of having all these question marks. So yeah, that's where I see this team getting big upgrades, and I think that this is going to be a busy middle of the season for Brad. And what it comes down to, just to tie back into the question that Seamus asked to start this whole conversation, was what you think these conversations are like in this office. I think it's just keeping the man who is cutting the checks happy, Bill Chisholm. Bill Chisholm asked for his second apron to be gone. Brad Stevens like, all right, check on the list, done. You are no longer paying over $300 million for this NBA team anymore. Now he's starting to get in the leniency, and he's starting to get on the good side of Bill because he's not cutting into his pockets as much. I'm sure that there are some operations happening behind the scenes that may lead to more money being needed and to line the pockets of the Boston Celtics. So let's per se say another stadium coming into Boston is in play in the next decade. There's going to need to be a little bit of padding behind that. And also, Bill Chisholm is going to make sure that the investment is worth it. So right now, I see it as completely. I don't like to use this word, especially after a guy spent multiple $billion on buying an organization, but it is 1,001,000,000% cheaping out. This team is cheaping out and taking the easy way out, and is waiting for the years 2027, the 2026, and are waiting to make headlines in other ways off of the basketball court rather than on the basketball court. And that if that's the mindset going forward, that concerns me, because I'm sure the next thing on the list is not having 2 players making $50 million on the roster.
And I'll say this: the money now, what you're saying here, the money now could potentially, right? Could potentially, these extra $200 million could go later on down the line to new facilities, new investments for the Celtics. Could be, sometimes you do have to take some steps back to go forward. Just remind everybody of that one. But ultimately, it's hard to really gauge how many steps forward the Celtics are taking right now, especially in this preseason, when all of these Celtics opponents will not play their starters. All right, this is where I get on my soapbox, because this game coming up on Sunday, we heard rumors, or sorry, not well, it is Sunday right now. I'm in the yesterday mindset, right? The game coming up on Wednesday against the Raptors. There are rumors from Scal on the broadcast that the Raptors will in fact play their starters that game. Yet through 3 games of this preseason so far, the Boston Celtics have yet to see any real rotation players whatsoever. Seriously, Memphis, the best player. Can I just put this into perspective? and I might be, there might be another player out there that I might be forgetting here, but I believe the best player the Celtics have faced so far in these first three preseason games, the best player the Boston Celtics have faced so far in these first three season. My lord, I tried to redo that for the clip and it just didn't happen. Sorry, folks, you're not getting a good clip out of me on this one. But regardless, the first three Celtic preseason games, the best player the Celtics have faced has been Jalen Wells. Jalen
Wow.
Wells from the Memphis Grizzlies. Can I get a confirmation on that? Can we come up with a better player?
Pete, nope. I was gonna say Pete Nance on the Cavaliers tonight, or was that Larry or P? I don't know.
Grady Dick.
There was nobody on.
We don't even know.
Grady Dick, maybe Grady Dick. Is Jalen Wells better than Dick?
I personally would take
no.
Dick.
Justin would personally take Dick. All right, that is a
wrong way, Franco. Wrong
that
way.
is a
buddy.
good.
Other way.
No,
Franco.
that would be a good. I would say that's a good. I would take Dick as well over Wells. Maybe in a year, maybe this year. I'm pretty optimistic about Dick, but regardless, I just want to point out that Grady Dick and Anthony Black, same age as us, just saying, same age. So just, maybe when we're 30, we won't find this funny anymore. I don't know. But regardless, that's the point here. It's been Jalen Wells, Grady Dick. Both of these guys, are you seriously telling me those are the best players? That is exactly what it's been. Those are the best players the Celtics have faced in this preseason. These are legitimate ball games.
We're getting more Dick on Wednesday night.
Players are playing in. They're physically playing in. Fans are physically getting into their cars. They're walking out of their homes. They're walking out of work. They're walking out of wherever. They're getting in their cars, spending gas money, going to dinner, spending money on parking to go to these games, spending money on tickets, as we know, and food, drinks inside of the arena. Whatever people spend on, right? People are spending money for this occasion, and the Cleveland Cavaliers won't even fly their starters to the location to even sit on the bench. Because I'll say this about that aspect. Sometimes players don't play, but still seeing them interact on the bench is something for guys at the arena, right? Or rather fans at the arena. They go, oh, LeBron's not playing, but I see him high-fiving some guys on the bench, good vibes. And I think it's an analyzation. It's a point of analyzation too. Guys on the bench, how are they reacting? What's the mood like? And I think this is kind of a detriment for the Cleveland Cavaliers that they set for themselves tonight. Why not build up that cohesion within the locker room, right? This is one preseason game. The team is flying to Boston from Cleveland or wherever they were playing. But regardless of the Cavs, they're flying to Boston. Why not take this opportunity to put your starters on the bench? Maybe they're not playing, but again, on the bench, high fives, motivation, pointing this, like Donovan Mitchell on the bench, coaching the guys up. Oh, you're out there. Say all the backup guards who are playing out there. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland sit on the bench. Okay, coaching them up in this way, right? This should be a moment where teams, it's not only on court, it's also off court as well. This should not be, I'm sorry, this Sunday night game in Boston, Cleveland could have been in and out, right? They're flying last night. They fly out tonight. I mean, in and out real quick. Preseason doesn't mean anything. They get their ass whooped by 31. But why? Why wouldn't Cleveland take this opportunity to build that cohesion within the locker room? And also, furthermore, on this real basketball occasion, I want to point this out. Real football and real basketball matter. Okay, everybody, I'm going to talk about these two sports. Everybody talks about in football and basketball, preseason, it doesn't matter. What these guys are still playing. These guys are still playing. And furthermore, these guys are some of them are trying to make a roster, right? And I understand coaches and executives have different evaluation systems for all these players, but come on. These are real games. Respect them as real games. If you don't respect, I'm all about building good habits, right? Building the good habits, no matter what the occasion is, right? Oh, because it's one of those, okay, if we're not building good habits over here, what makes us think we're going to have good habits when the moment is big, right? The moment isn't big for the Cavaliers. I understand they have lofty expectations for a potential title this year, the Cavaliers do. But in the preseason, I think every good Celtic season, it started in the preseason, right? I mean, it's that was never the final product, but it always started in the preseason. What kind of camaraderie, what kind of tone was being set in that preseason to then eventually be translated over into the regular season, where the team then built on that throughout the season. The Cavaliers, they're 0-3. Like, oh, we're favorites in the East and we're going to win the title. Preseason doesn't matter for all that. I understand. Okay. Like, oh, this game is not going to shift the title odds at the end of the day.
Right.
But at the
Right.
same time, I don't believe in just throwing away opportunities to get better as a team. Okay. I don't believe in that at all. And I don't believe in making fans like this game right here. If you're not going to fly your starters to the game, I mean, why should fans even pay? Why should fans even pay? What they're going to go pay to watch Larry Nance play basketball? Oh, well, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it almost feels like a scam in a way with these preseason games. And I don't feel like I'm asking for much either. I really don't. It's like, can we just get the starters out there for 5, 10, 15 minutes? Can we get them out there for a quarter? Sometimes that's what happens. A quarter of play, all right, get out of there. That's it. The Celtics' best opponent so far has been either Jalen Wells or Grady Dick, or tonight, I believe Larry Nance.
Thomas Bryant.
Maybe. I mean, just these names, it's like those are 8, 9, 10 guys on the roster, right? 8th, 9th, 10th men. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. However, Sunday, the Boston Celtics do play not Sunday.
Nope.
It's Sunday right now. I got to get out of this mentality. Wednesday. Everybody knows us back here on this program now doing post game every night. We never know what day it is. It's all about, and I think
all end in Y.
No, right. They all end in Y, but I think NBA announcers will relate to this statement. We never know what day it is. We just know, is there a game today or is there not? That's just how it is, right? Is there a game today? There's not. But regardless, on Wednesday, there will be a game this week, and the Boston Celtics will be taking on the Toronto Raptors again in their final preseason game. The Celtics 2-1 up to this point in the preseason, but looking ahead to that Raptors game on Wednesday, the Raptors could be playing their starters. This ultimately could, though, be a spot where the Celtics don't play their starters, just to point that out.
We might just get more Dick. I mean, it might be one of those types of situations on Wednesday, but I think Wednesday, as the last game and as we've seen entailed in the past, is kind of the last. I feel like the final and last preseason game is the one that teams are getting a little bit more in tune with and treating a little bit more realistically instead of the first three. So who knows? We might be in for a little bit more competition. Maybe seeing the starters for the Toronto Raptors. Still haven't seen Brendan Ingram. Still want to see the Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. That's a team that I believe I mentioned in one of our lives. Go back and watch all of them if you guys are watching. And so I said that the Toronto Raptors could be a team that the Celtics are in the middle of the pack with during the play-in tournaments or in the standings. They're, as of last year, they were a team that you could have scoffed at and looked forward to on the schedule, but now it's a little bit more open-ended and a little bit more of a competition between the two teams. And who knows? Maybe the renewed rivalry comes around.
Seamus said that this summer, and you knew I was going to say that.
The minute I saw your face, my brain went immediately back to the draft. I went, "Oh, I heard this
that
before."
Stupid rivalry comment of the Raptors that he made. I think the Celtics should 100% go all in on this game. I hope Toronto goes all in, but we can't control Toronto. I need Boston. I need Boston to. I need them to go out there and play everybody. I need to see something. I've liked what I saw this preseason. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not perfect by any means, but like, the Celtics are playing hard. They're getting out. They're playing fast. I like the not walking the ball up the court. I like that. I hate when they slowed the game down.
That was annoying last year, dude.
What was so annoying about it was these past 2 years, the Celtics, and I get it, like Celtics have a much younger group now. But like, even when the Celtics were playing fast, they were just so dominant. And what was annoying about it was like they had such an on-off switch that they just shut off. And this team, I feel as if their on switch is going to be stuck on. And I think that's something that's going to be really exciting for you. Disagree?
I don't know if music just popped up or not, but StreamYard is on one for me on my iPad tonight. I mean, my lord, it's just
I don't know. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay, never mind. Go on, folks. I didn't hear it either. Franco's face indicated that it was up for a second. I went.
It was up for a second. Whatever. We're good.
No, it's I'll tell everybody right now. It's the iPad tonight. The iPad earlier. It's why the Raptors graphic was up. It's like I'm literally like tapping on something. Then it's like going, what? No, don't, no. I'm surprised some like nefarious things haven't popped up tonight. Like, oh, you have a Raptors, whatever. Like, we're good. This is again preseason, right? Preseason. We're getting ramped up into the regular season.
Remember the birthday balloons that randomly popped up over your head? Do you remember that stream?
We like do it again. Do it again. I don't know if it does it anymore. Like I haven't seen it.
I don't know, but he did something and they popped up. But getting back to my expectations for Wednesday night.
No, I don't think it does it anymore. Oh my goodness.
That's a win for you.
To be fair, it's the direction of it. I don't know where it's going anymore.
I'll post my keys to the game once we get closer to game day, but I just continue to play fast. I love when the Celtics play fast, and I love it with this team because they're so young. Get the ball out in transition. You're this young. You're this athletic of a group. There's no reason for you to be walking the ball up the court. Get out, get the boards, and get out. Celtics also, not only do they need to like crash the defensive glass, but simply not only like this team is going to be known for their offense. Franco mentioned that earlier. Like they're a really good offensive team. It's going to come down to their defense being played. But like when you have those really good offensive teams and then those not so great defensive teams, it really kills you when you finally have a solid defensive possession and it just immediately gets evaporated by an offensive rebound and a kick out to a three or a putback. And I think that's where the Celtics are going to die this year is that rebounding. And I get it. Not just the centers need to rebound. Like I need the wings to crash the board. Sam Hauser has to get in there and get boards. Josh Minot has to get in there, get boards. Hugo Gonzalez has to get boards. JB, Derek White, like everybody. It needs to be an everybody thing, not just a center thing. But like also when it comes to the centers, Luka Garza has been pretty well. I'm not just saying that because he's my guy. You guys know I love Luka. But he's probably been your most consistent rebounder in terms of the big men. And then I look at Nimi, man. I look at Nimi, and that's where I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen him play like a center yet this preseason. I need to see something out of it. If I need to see something out of anybody, we talk a lot about Baylor. I need to see something out of Nimi in this final preseason game. The final curtain call, the final dress rehearsal, final preseason game, whatever you want to call it. But certain players, everybody needs to treat it like a real game, but certain players specifically need to treat Wednesday's game as a playoff game because I'm going to be honest with you. I get it's preseason and results don't matter. But, if you're walking away from this preseason as Nimi Ishkeda or Baylor Shireman, I'm not feeling so confident going into opening night against Philadelphia. And those are two guys who are expected to make impacts this year on the Celtics. You're not giving your coach, Joe Mazzulla, anything to really work with, in an already limited space to work with. You're not giving him much. So Wednesday, go all out. And I hope Toronto goes all out. I can speak for Seamus. Toronto, go all out. Play your guys. Bring them all. Bring everybody.
Yeah, I'm happy with the Celtics because at least tonight it felt like kind of a go all out game to some degree. At least with the lineups.
Hey, people got to see Brown. People got to see Jaylen Brown. That's the marketing point.
Walsh and Tatum, who are injured, played tonight. Everybody played. From the G League guys to Jaylen Brown and Derek White. Everybody played tonight. Did everybody play phenomenal Michael Jordan status? No, but everybody played tonight, and we got a taste of what reality would feel like in this regular season compared to the first two games, where 3 starters sat game 1 and then 3 starters sat game 2, and we really don't know what we look like as a collective unit yet. And now finally tonight, at least we saw something as to what we could look like. We do wish it was against a little bit heavier competition than the Cleveland Charge, but we can't control that. We can control how we play, and the Celtics played very well tonight.
And I'm glad that we saw a full lineup tonight from the Celtics. That was kind of the first 2 games we had not seen it. We had seen majority, right? Both games majority, but we had not seen Derek White and Jaylen. Well, we hadn't seen Derek White and Jaylen Brown play with Anthony Simons and Peyton Pritchard. Finally tonight, we saw everybody play. And as you mentioned, Justin, the guys who didn't play, they were injured. What can you do? The groin and the Achilles. I mean, rest up Jason Tatum and Jordan Walsh. And that's all you can do. Everybody else played the game. That's what we want to see out of these preseason games. I don't want to see a game. Well, to be fair, the Celtics up to this point, if they do play a game where they play all their reserves, so be it. They haven't played a game like that yet, but we don't want to see, like, say, the Cavs, the Raptors. I don't want to see that throughout the preseason. All right, I don't want to see it. I want to see guys play. All right, and because part of the preseason is their real physical basketball games that people are getting in their cars, going to the arena and watching. They're spending their money on. You gotta respect them a little bit. Okay. I think when a team rolls out continuously for the entire preseason, and I think when a team, say like the Cavs, right, clearly they don't care about preseason. When they disrespect preseason, that's just that's going to be a detriment to them, but it's also a detriment to all their fans going to their game at the end of the day. But I understand preseason. It's going to go back and forth. There are going to be a lot of reserves that play at the end of the night. However, that's going to end our night here on CTW Postgame Live. Tonight, the Boston Celtics. Franco, you got the music going?
I got
the music guy. Yeah. I apologize, folks. Mishaps on the broadcast tonight. My fault. It's my iPad had a little bit to do with it. Don't get me wrong. I definitely may have messed with the sound a little bit there. But regardless, this preseason, we'll get better, as the Celtics will get better. On Wednesday against the Toronto Raptors, we will be back after that game, after the final buzzer here on the CTW Postgame Show. Tonight, the Boston Celtics walk away from the Garden in their first game at the Garden this season. First game at the Garden. The Celtics walk away with a 31-point victory, 138-107. The Boston Celtics beat the Canton Charge. Let's face it, it's not the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was the Canton Charge. However, they will be back in action Wednesday against the Toronto Raptors. You can catch us all here on the CTW Postgame Show. Of course, I am your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me tonight, Nick Franco and Justin Lowe. Do not forget to like, subscribe, follow, and turn on those post notifications to the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel and all of our social media out there. Instagram, Twitter, go hit up all of those. But from us tonight, thank you all for watching, and as we always say, go Celtics.